HTVRONT came out with a new mini heat press, so let's check it out. This is called the Mini Heat Press 3, and it's supposed to be bigger than their normal mini press. So we have a user manual, a storage bag. Here is the heat press and a cradle. Okay, so first off, before we turn it on, let's check out the plate. So you can see it has this curved area here. And according to the manual, that could be used for things like hats and tumblers, mugs, and cups. I'm going to go ahead and compare it to their original mini press. And for reference, this is the Cricut brand mini press. So we can see that this one is going to be smaller than the other, and again, smaller than the new one. So we'll just put that one aside. That was just for reference. So if you have the Cricut mini press, you can see that that is smaller than the HTVRONT press. This is the normal one, or the regular one that we have, and this is the new one. So that's quite a bit bigger. Very nice. Okay, let's take a look at the controls. We have a power button here, and you just press it to turn it on. And then this button here is to set the temperature. It's on Fahrenheit, so we can go ahead and go up to, I'm going to do some sublimation. Actually, I'll do some HTV first. So we'll do 290 for 15 seconds. There we go. Then you press that to set it. And then it's just going to go ahead and heat up. Put that on the cradle while it heats up. So while it's heating up, let's talk about the cradle. So this is a silicone cradle. And not only is it used to hold your heat press and keep it away from your work surface, it's also a cradle for you to use for tumblers. And I'll show you how to do that later on. Okay, so it does have a memory mode. So now we're at temperature. But if I were to turn this off by pushing the button, it will remember the time and temperature when we turn it back on. So we don't have to reset it. And there's also a built-in safety feature, which is the auto turn off, and it'll turn off if there hasn't been any activity on it for 15 minutes. It'll turn off automatically. Okay, I'm just grabbing my heat press mat, and I'm going to press this canvas cosmetic bag. And then I'm going to get my lint roller to remove any lint, dust, or dirt. So the first thing I want to do is remove any moisture and also iron out any of the wrinkles. And I'm just going to do that quickly here. That's just to prep the bag. And here I have some HTV that I cut with my Cricut. I'm just going to center it there. And then I'm going to use some Teflon to cover that. Okay, so we just put this over the HTV vinyl, and then we hold down the power button for 2 seconds, and then the timer starts. And once the timer goes off, I'm going to move it over and repeat. I am applying pressure when I'm doing this. I'm just going to go over it real quick. And then we'll let this cool off. I'm just going to use a cooling block to speed it up. And then we just remove the carrier sheet slowly. Perfect. So this is a cosmetic case, but I like to use them for my supplies for Bible study or for school. So, perfect. It looks great. Okay, let's move on to the next project. Okay, we're going to use another cosmetic bag. These are also treated for sublimation, so we're going to do sublimation on top of this one. Removing the lint. And then I'm going to put a piece of butcher paper inside, so that way when we press, the ink doesn't go through it to the other side of the bag. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and press it, remove any moisture and wrinkles. Okay, so I have my print that I printed out on my Epson F170 sublimation printer. on a sub paper, and I also use Epson Sublimation ink. And I'm just centering it here on my bag with some heat resistant tape. We will need to change the temperature to 390, and we'll be pressing for 40 seconds according to the manual. Okay. While that's heating up, I'm going to put a piece of butcher paper on top because we want to make sure that we don't have any ink bleed move over onto the press. That way it doesn't get ink on anything else that I create. Okay, so same process. We're going to hold it down while it gets to 40 seconds. And then once it beeps, I'll move it on over and to do the whole design. And we do have to apply lots of pressure. Just moving my way down the design. So this press is going to work really nicely if you like to take your crafts and do things together in some kind of craft group, or if you like to do small projects and you don't want to lug out a larger heat press. Of course, it will take longer to do projects like this because you're going to have to do 4 or 5 passes. But again, this is something that you can grab easily for small projects. Okay, that looks pretty good. I did miss a little spot here, and that's just me not, obviously the ink is still on there, so I just didn't do that. So that's a user error. But I do want to say too that when you're using this press, you want to make sure that your print, when you're covering your print, that it fits amongst this part right here, because this isn't going to press. So I did go back and make sure I got the bottom part, and I think my paper moved a little bit because it got blurry. But that's just, like I said, user error. If my design was smaller, it would have been easier, but I wanted to use a large enough image to show you that you can do it in parts. So I just put the paper back on there, and I lined it up as close as possible, and I'm just pressing this one little tip here of the pencil, and hopefully it'll line up so that we don't have that faded area. Okay, that's better. Just a little touch up there. That's good enough. And now we'll move on to the next project. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is also a cradle that can be used to hold your cups and tumblers. And when you do that, you don't have a place to actually put your press, so I recommend you getting a heat press mat. And then I'm going to sublimate this camper cup. It's coated for sublimation. It's stainless steel, so it should take just a second to heat up. The manual says for sublimation tumblers, we're going to do 370 degrees for 130 seconds. We're going to apply lots of pressure, and we're going to hot peel. Okay, so we're at temperature, and what we're going to do is going to go ahead and press this. Okay, so after quite a bit of time, here's the results. I do see some unevenness. It's difficult to know without peeling it up and, taking the paper off and risking it not lining up again. It's not very even. Okay, so let's go over my final thoughts. Overall, I think this is a really nice mini press. I think it works well. It's easy to use. It's self-explanatory. Ideally, I like it for HTV projects and very small sublimation projects. This was a bit too large to get an even press, but I wanted to see what the maximum it could do. And then I wanted to try, since it was being marketed for tumblers, cups, and mugs, I wanted to try it for that. And I personally would pass. If you're going to buy this for solely that, I wouldn't do it. But I would purchase it if you wanted to get a larger mini heat press for your craft area. It is at a reasonable price point, and there are often coupons and sales at HTVRONT. So if you are in the market for a mini heat press that you could use for projects like these, and as well as sewing projects and other crafting projects, I encourage you to check it out. If you have any questions, just drop them below. And as always, thank you for watching.